Isaiah Stevens is the best prospect that nobody's talking about.
Tell me what you want. Said it, I'm golden. Told you I'm shining. Had to break through. Plan perfect timing. Giving no hands. Go get it. Radix the ruler. Can't with them peasants. Want to win.
Alright, so I know I said nobody's talking about him, and that kind of is true to a certain extent. Obviously, going into Summer League, he wasn't one of the guys that Heat fans was really excited for. Obviously, we wanted to see Khalil Ware and Keyshawn Johnson. From the guard spot, we were excited to see Pallel Larson and Zion Poulin. But after that first game, Isaiah Stevens caught the eye of quite a few people, and I started getting several comments about him. So shout out to all you people that really saw the vision first. But that's the great thing about Summer League, right? Is there's always a guy, not always, I guess, but once in a while you get a guy that stands out that really surprises you. You know, the one that I go back to was that one Summer League that had Tyler Hero, and Duncan Robinson, I think, was on that team too. So as Heat fans were like, oh yeah, let's see what these shooters can do. I'm hyped to see them. Just spent a lottery pick on Tyler Hero. But the guy that really stood out was Kendrick Nunn. And sure enough, he ended up starting almost every game for that season, and he ended up finishing second in Rookie of the Year. So sometimes guys can come out of nowhere, show themselves in Summer League, and they end up having a bigger impact than you might ever imagine. So that seems like it could be the case with Isaiah Stevens. So I wanted to make this video just to kind of show where he came from, what he did in college, and just a little bit more about him. Now, I will say though, the sample size in Summer League is pretty small. He only has played 3 games so far, but his numbers in those 3 games is he's averaging 8.6 points a night, 6.3 assists, 1.6 turnovers, which is good for about a 4-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, which is excellent. Not to mention on top of that, and on top of all the great facilitating that we've seen, he's shooting 69% from the field, nice, and 80% from 3. Now, overall, his percentages, the field goal is 9 of 13, and from 3 is 4 of 5, so not a lot of volume there, but that's not really what you're getting from Isaiah Stevens, although he is capable. What you are getting is a dimer. Just in this last game versus, I guess I should say I'm recording this after the game versus Celtics. That was just his previous game. He had several dots in that game. Had this one to Keyshawn Johnson, which was well beyond a half-court lob, put it right in the breadbasket for Keyshawn to grab it and just slam it down backwards with a crazy play. He had another one to Jaime Jaquez. He was several feet behind the three-point line, lobbed it up to a Jaime cutting back door, and look where he pinpointed this ball. That is exactly where you want to throw a lob, right at the rim, and he had the presence of mind to see Jaime go back door and hit him with perfect timing. This next pass to Khalil Ware is probably the best one he had this game. He wrapped it around his defender, again, beyond half court, so threw it quite a bit of distance and timed it perfectly to a Khalil Ware cutting towards the rim. And not to mention, he put it right, right by Khalil Ware's waist, right where you want to catch that ball, which is difficult considering Khalil Ware's 7 feet. Just a super impressive play. And we have seen Stevens and Khalil Ware connect several times during this Summer League run, and he's obviously shown some pick and lobs leading to some Ware dunks. So that's something that's been really exciting to see as well. So getting into a little bit more about Isaiah Stevens, he is 6 foot, 180 pounds, 23 years old, and he does have a 6'4" wingspan. So got a positive wingspan there, but obviously overall, he is a bit of a smaller guy. And I do think that's probably why he went undrafted out of Colorado State, in which he played 5 seasons. And in his final season at Colorado State, he averaged 16 points a night with 6.8 assists and 2.4 turnovers. So not quite the 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio that you'd love to see. That's what I consider a great, ratio. A guy like Zion Poulin, his last season at Florida was 5-to-1. That's why he obviously had a lot of hype coming into this Summer League. But still, the numbers here for Stevens are very good. Super efficient from the three-point line, in which he shot 44% on 4 attempts. And he shot almost twice as many twos a game. So this is not just like one of those small guys that hangs around the perimeter. He took 8 twos a game, a lot of that in the mid-range and at the rim, which we will get into. I do want to say Colorado State, not a school a lot of people might have heard of. The only current NBA player is big body David Roddy, the young kid from the Memphis Grizzlies. He was on the same team as Isaiah Stevens these past couple seasons. But this is the list of guys. You can see there's only like 10 or so here. And the only ones that maybe you would have heard of was like Jan Clavel, just because he actually played on the Miami Heat Summer League. I don't know how I have this random information in my head, but comment down below if you remember Clavel on the Heat Summer League. And then maybe the only other one you know here besides Roddy is Jason Smith. He was a center that played for the old Hornets back in the day for a couple years. So certainly not a school that's known for basketball, but they have been shown, that it's possible to produce some NBA talent. So maybe Isaiah Stevens is the first really true great to come out of there. Now, going through his offensive scoring game a bit, because I think I might have mentioned he scored 16 points a night in college. So although he's known as a facilitator, let's not act like this guy can't get a bucket. And I want to say that 21% of his shots come at the rim, in which he converted at 56%. So what I kind of learned through my research here and watching these first few games, not more so in these first summer league games because he hasn't shot too much, but more so looking through his college film and some scouting reports, he is a 3-level scorer, right? Like I just said, 21% of his shots come at the rim. The 56% isn't elite, but for a 6-foot guy, I'd say that's pretty good finishing at the rim. Obviously, a guy that is susceptible to getting blocked a lot. If you can finish, well over 50%, that's pretty good. And the fact that he's able to get to the rim 21% of the time is pretty great also. But this right here is his bread and butter. 19% of his shots come at the right elbow. He hits them at a 48% clip. And from the left elbow, he shoots at a 56% clip, but only shoots there about 6% of the time. So he loves that right elbow, which to me, I call that the Chris Paul zone. Chris Paul is one of the most efficient players at that right corner elbow, that little mid-range shot, 15 to 17-foot shot, which if you can get to that spot consistently and hit, that is a great way to become an unstoppable scorer. Because a lot of times you start at the three-point line and you might take a dribble in and do a dribble pull-up from that spot, which is very difficult for the defender to guard because they have to stop on a dime and contest. A guy like Isaiah Stevens not only can get to that spot easily, but he shoots a little bit of a fadeaway when he does it too, making that shot even more hard to block, which is very beneficial considering his 6-foot frame. So that little bit of a fadeaway and shiftiness that he has to get to that spot is kind of how he's is able to get shots off at his size, I suppose. So that is something that I love to see for him because, hey, Chris Paul was able to become a pretty decent scorer in his days, and a lot of it was right at that spot. But the facilitating for him, he had a 39% assist percentage at Colorado. And basically what assist percentage is, it's the percentage of assists his team gets while he's on the court. And just to put that into perspective, a 39% assist rate would be good for damn near top 10 all time in the NBA. Now, I'm not flubbing numbers. That is accurate. But obviously, if Isaiah Stevens is playing on a Colorado team that doesn't have a lot of great guards, I wouldn't know that. He's going to have the ball in his hands most of the time, meaning he will get a lot of assists. But still, a 39% assist ratio is still very, very good. That's the name of the game for him. But I mentioned he was a 3-level scorer. Can't do that without also getting to the 3-point line. And on catch and shoots, he was a 67% effective field goal shooter. For context, that's 95th percentile. That means out of all Division I basketball players, he was better than 95% of them on the catch and shoot. And we already saw from all the clips we played earlier, this guy is shifty as hell and can get to his own spot off the dribble with his handle. But the fact that he is also elite off the catch and shoot, flying around screens, that's something that really brings another dynamic to his game. He has great range on his shot, hit a lot of deep threes I've seen in college. And again, as a shorter player, one way to combat that is by extending your range a little bit, making the defense come out to guard you there, because then you have the speed to blow past them if they have to guard you 35 feet from the hoop. And with Isaiah Stevens, they have to do that because he has great range on his shot. We talked about his off the dribble shooting. He was 54% from there, 54% off the dribble 3-pointers, and that's good for 68th percentile. So obviously he's very, very elite at that. But for me, it all comes back to the craftiness, man. I mean, I'm going to run these highlights in the background as I'm talking. Look how shifty he is. And that is how you score as a shorter guard. I wouldn't know. For pickup ball, I'm like 5'10". That's not short for pickup basketball, right? Like 5'10", it's not super tall, but for pickup, it's not that short. And I also have no handle. So I'm the complete opposite of Isaiah Stevens, but that's completely besides the point. But I've seen in his finishing, baskets, I've seen some left-hand finishes, some right-hand finishes. So he is very crafty inside as well. I do want to say I didn't see much of a floater, which for shorter players is something that I would love to see. They call it the giant killer because if you get in that mid-range, you could sort of put a high arcing floater up to get it to drop in. I didn't see a lot of that. I saw some of it. Doesn't mean he's not capable. It's just, what I saw in the very minimal Isaiah Stevens footage that's out there, because there's not a lot. There's not really many scouting reports. So I really kind of had to dig in and do my own research on this one. But hey, if Stevens can get to the mid-range and just do the pull-up fadeaway, he don't need a floater that bad. So doesn't really matter too much there. So that's pretty much everything that we know about his game. What I do want to question, though, is his potential fits on the Heat, right? Because he is becoming good enough to the point where he's becoming too hard to ignore, right? And as a Heat team where you already got the 3 two-way spots filled with Keyshawn Johnson, that spots, he's keeping that. But then you also got Zion Poulin and Drew Smith. Zion Poulin hasn't stood out in Summer League. He might be the most direct competition for a guy like Isaiah Stevens, but I do feel like Poulin has been exactly what they wanted. A guy who makes right reads, smart plays, doesn't turn the ball over, and is efficient. You wish his assist numbers would be a little bit up, but he also hasn't exactly had the ball a ton, wasn't starting every game, was playing behind guys like Isaiah Stevens and Alonnis Williams. So I think Zion Poulin's spot is safe. The name that we're kind of looking at is Drew Smith, who, listen, Drew Smith is not the most popular guy with Heat fans. I'm not a fan of him. Most Heat fans aren't. I know there's some of y'all because you say, oh, when he was healthy, he was good. He was that prototypical point guard, high assist, low turnover. I disagree. I thought he was mid as hell, and I think there's a lot of people better than him. And even Barry Jackson put out a tweet like a week ago saying it was unfathomable that the Heat signed Drew Smith to a two-way. Aside from the fact that there's just other guys who look like they're better than him, like Isaiah Stevens, Drew Smith is also hurt. And as a Heat team that's already struggling with injuries with Nikola Jovic out, why the hell would you sign a two-way spot to a guy who can't even play in Summer League right now? It makes no sense to me. So I do think the most logical solution is Drew Smith loses his two-way, and it does go to Isaiah Stevens because I think the Heat desperately need a true point guard. They haven't had a true facilitator in a long time. I think that was supposed to be Kyle Lowry, but after his first season here, he really wasn't great in that regard, I'll say. So I like Isaiah Stevens. I think they could use him. Obviously, we wanted a guy like Tyus Jones. He's still a free agent, but the Heat can't afford to pay him, obviously. So if you could have a couple of backup point guards like Zion Poulin, like Isaiah Stevens, to kind of get you that burn as the second unit, to run that second unit, I don't think, I think you could do a lot worse if you're the Miami Heat. I will say that. But let me know y'all thoughts down below. Are you excited about Isaiah Stevens? Do you want to see him take the last two-way spot? If so, whose spot do you want to give up? Let me know all y'all thoughts down below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe because I'm on my grind to hit 10K subs by when? A year from now? I don't know. I haven't quite thought of it yet. But I'm hyped about Isaiah Stevens, so we'll see what happens in the remaining Summer League games. I think the next game is Monday, so I'll see y'all with a post game after that. Probably a video before that, too. I don't know. We'll see. Peace out, y'all.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.